Well, we bought it from a Mr. and Mrs. Walter Lay, and as you said, in '73, and we held it. We owned it and operated it as a rooming house for 2 or 3 years, and then we owned another rooming house over on 3rd Avenue. So either in probably '74, I'm not sure, but I think somewhere around '74, we put the two of them together and sold it as a unit, one unit, two properties, and I think we sold them to a guy named Richard White.
When you bought the house originally in '74, was it also a rooming house then, or was it not?
Yes, it was. It was a family run. Mr. and Mrs. Lay lived there, and I think they had a youngster or a young son or daughter. Son, I think. I'm not sure. And but actually when we bought it, they were living alone there, and they were up in years, and they decided to get out of the rooming house business, and I owned the one next door, and that's how I got acquainted with them. And when they decided to move on into retirement, they approached me about buying that property at 220. So I did. So we bought that, and we operated it as a rooming house for a couple of years, I guess, until we sold it to Mr. White. They were all rented out, as I recall, when we bought it.
How about rent? What would it cost to rent a room back then in the house?
Yeah, $30 a month. Yeah, that was about the limit on what you could charge in those days. Most of the people that we rented to were retirees on Social Security, and Social Security wasn't paying that much back in the '70s, and $30 a month was about all you could charge. The reason we sold those properties, we found that the rent was $30 a month was pretty much a max figure that you could charge people in those days, and it was getting harder to get insurance. We had to go to Lloyd's of London to get coverage, I believe, on that property, and then the city started raising the taxes when the property started changing hands and the valuations went up. They started raising the taxes, and we were kind of locked into a lower income level that we could get out of it. So we just kind of moved out of that business down there. Because at one time we owned the 220, the 218 right next to it, and right across the street we owned the 227, the building across the street that's hidden behind all the shrubbery. As far as the one next door, 218, we knew that was used initially as a boarding house or rooming house for railroad employees, and I assume that that's the same as what 220 was used as for the railroad workers. That was a nice property when we bought it. The one that next door and the one across the street, they both needed some renovation, some work, neglected maintenance, that kind of thing. But the 220 was in excellent condition when we bought it.
Did you have a name for it, or was it just 220?
Let me check with my wife. What did we call the 220? Was that Sunshine or Sunrise? Sunshine? It was either Sunrise or Sunshine.
You know, it's funny. I did see a listing for Sunshine Apartments, so that was it.
That's it. It was Sunshine then, and the one next to it, we call that the Highlander.
Did you come up with the name Sunshine, or was that the Lay family?
No, we came up with that. And then the Highlander was next door, and then the one across the street was the Chadwick House.
And when you sold it to Mr. White, did he tell you what his intentions were? Do you know what he had planned for it?
As far as I know, he was going to continue it as a rooming house. I probably should pass this on to you. White didn't tell me this, but someone told me that the reason White was interested in those two rooming houses was because there was talk of what they call a Butterfield or a route coming through there, and he thought that eventually that properties were going to be condemned for a state highway through there. And of course, it never happened.
So, did he think he would make more money if that was the case?
Yeah, I think that's what he had in mind. Yeah, I think he was buying them on speculation that the state was going to condemn property in order to build a road through there.